Welcome to Pipeline Playbooks. This is the series where we dive deep into actionable strategies, things you can actually use to fuel your business growth.
Great to be here.
Today, we are unpacking a really powerful tactic, identifying and crucially engaging with companies that have just announced expansion plans. You shared some frankly fascinating material with us on this. It really highlights how spotting these sort of early growth indicators can give you a real edge in sales and marketing.
It really can.
So our mission today is pretty clear. Pull out the core insights, give you a solid understanding of why this matters so much and, how you can actually put it into action.
And what's really interesting here, I think, is the core principle. It's timing. It really is.
Timing. Okay.
Yeah, a company announcing expansion, they're often at this pivotal point. It signals growth, obviously, but also a potential need for new solutions, new partnerships.
Right. Things might be about to break or at least need upgrading.
Exactly. So by understanding this, you can shift from being just another cold outreach to being potentially a really valuable resource at exactly the right moment they might need you.
Okay, so the material talks about these moments as signals. Sometimes they call them event triggers or sales triggers. Let's unpack that a bit. What exactly are these signals? And why is a company saying, hey, we're expanding such a significant one? Think of it like seeing the first big branches shoot out from a young tree.
That's a great analogy. Precisely.
Yeah.
These signals, they're key milestones. They indicate a real shift in priorities, in focus.
Okay.
So expansion plans could be opening new offices, maybe entering totally new markets, or just scaling up their operations. They inherently suggest the company is gearing up for some significant change.
And likely increased investment, right?
And likely increased investment to support it all. Yeah. It's a very public flag in the ground saying, we're transforming.
And the document, it really emphasizes that this expansion announcement is often the first public buying signal.
Often, yes.
That seems huge. They're basically telling the world, we're growing, things are changing, it's not just internal anymore.
It's out there.
So why is this news so valuable for you listening? I mean, the material mentions increased budgets, a need for tools to support growth.
Yeah, and if you connect that to the bigger picture, think about the challenges. A company expanding is likely hitting new hurdles.
Like what?
Well, infrastructure, maybe talent acquisition, hiring loads of people, quickly market penetration in a new area, all sorts of things.
Ah, okay. So this creates these natural openings to offer solutions that directly address those specific growing pains.
Exactly. Tailored solutions.
And it's not just about netting new customers, is it? The material also points out opportunities for cross-selling and upselling.
Right, with your existing clients who are expanding.
Yeah, that seems like, low-hanging fruit almost, or at least a warmer conversation.
Definitely warmer conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, you're already supplying the bricks, and suddenly they decide to build a whole new wing on the factory. You're perfectly placed.
Okay, now for the practical side, the how-to. How do you actually find out which companies are doing this expanding?
Good question.
Because the source material, it talks about the traditional methods being slow, manual, digging through news reports, maybe even just calling companies up.
Yeah, the old way. Searching for that needle in a haystack, basically. It takes time, a lot of time.
So this raises that key question, like, how can you streamline this, make it more efficient?
Well, the material notes the evolution, right? From purely manual research to using things like, say, Google Alerts or LinkedIn.
Which can help, yeah.
They can, but they often have limitations. You might get a lot of noise, maybe not the most targeted or actionable insights you really need. It's still quite broad sometimes.
Right. Which leads us to the mention of a specific platform in the material, Dealfront. Looks like it offers a much more focused approach. Let's walk through some of what it does based on the material. First, there's this Dealfront target feature. Seems designed to really narrow things down.
Right, filtering.
Yeah, you can filter by news and signals, then you select signals and specifically drill down to expansion.
And it even breaks that down more, doesn't it?
It does. Options like expansion abroad and even mergers and acquisitions, which are, definitely huge growth or change signals.
Absolutely. Big changes.
Plus, you can filter by when the news was published or the event date. That seems crucial for timing your outreach properly.
Getting the timing right is key.
The material also points to another filter, construction projects, selecting new buildings and expansions there.
Ah, that's a really tangible one.
Yeah, if they're physically building new facilities, that's a pretty clear sign they're scaling up and going to need stuff. Infrastructure, equipment, people.
Very concrete signal of growth and future needs, yes.
And something else that caught my eye was the CRM integration capability.
Ah, connecting it to your existing customer data.
Exactly. So when you run these searches for expanding companies, you can immediately see if any of them are already your customers.
Which flags those cross-sell and upsell opportunities instantly. You already have the relationship.
Fantastic way to spot those. Saves digging around separately.
Makes it seamless.
And then to get the story behind the signal, it says you can just click on the number of signals shown for a company.
To get more detail.
And it takes you to more information, even the original source, like the news article.
Which is so important for context. You need to understand the specifics of their expansion, not just that they are expanding.
Absolutely. Verification and context. Then there's this other part, Dealfront Connect. This sounds like it's about getting proactive alerts.
Moving from searching to being notified.
Right. You pick a target list you've saved, set up an alert for specific signals like expansion, maybe even awards too, as the material suggests.
Awards can be a good indicator too, yeah. Shows momentum.
And you choose how often you get the emails, daily, weekly. It's like a personalized early warning system for your key targets.
And that shift you mentioned from reactive searching to proactive alerts. That's really where the value proposition kicks in strongly.
Because you can be among the first to know.
You can. And being first, or at least very early, can make all the difference in how your outreach is received.
Okay, makes sense. So, right, you've used these tools, maybe Dealfront, maybe others, and you've identified companies that are expanding. Now what? What do you actually do?
The crucial next step.
The material lays out a pretty clear 4-step process. Let's walk through those. Step 1 is research and qualify leads.
Don't just jump in blind.
Exactly. It's not enough to know they're growing.
Yeah.
You need to dig deeper, understand their specific goals, the challenges this growth might create, and who the key people are, the stakeholders. The material really stresses identifying potential pain points.
And connecting the expansion to those likely pain points, that's critical.
Yes. And also prioritizing leads who might already be showing some intent. Maybe they've visited your website recently.
Combining those signals. Expansion plus website visit. That's a strong indicator. Your research should focus on the implications of their growth. What does this expansion mean for their operations, their tech stack, their staffing?
Got it. Understand the consequences of the growth. Okay, step 2. Develop tailored outreach strategies.
Makes perfect sense. No generic messages.
Right. A one-size-fits-all email just won't cut it when they're in this major transition. The material talks about crafting personalized messages. Maybe congratulating them specifically on the expansion details you found. Show you did your homework.
That personalization is key. It shows you're paying attention.
And it suggests engaging through multiple channels. Email, LinkedIn, maybe phone, even direct mail sometimes.
Where appropriate and compliant, of course.
Yes, the material notes being mindful of things like GDPR and U.S. direct marketing laws for physical mail. But that multi-channel approach, it boosts your chances of actually getting noticed, right?
Definitely. Different people respond to different channels.
The material even gives an example email outreach template. Let's see.
Right.
Subject, congratulations on your expansion. Pretty direct.
Clear and positive.
The body acknowledges the excitement, maybe the potential high demand from new territories, and then it pivots. It talks about how your specific solution could help them navigate those specific challenges.
Linking their situation to your value proposition.
Exactly. And it offers a specific value prop, then a clear call to action. Interestingly, it also advises against using automated email sequences, like those cadences, right after this first message.
Suggesting a more personal touch is needed initially.
Yeah, it seems like they favor a one-on-one approach at this stage.
Which makes sense. The template is a good starting point, a solid framework. But the real impact comes from customizing it heavily, showing you understand their specific expansion, new factory, new market entry, whatever it is.
Right. Okay, step 3 is all about engaging and nurturing relationships.
This isn't always a quick sale.
No, exactly. It's about building a real connection, offering relevant insights, maybe advice related to scaling, positioning yourself as a helpful advisor, not just pushing a product.
Being a resource.
Yeah. And the material emphasizes nurturing these prospects over the long haul, sending valuable content, checking in periodically, even if there's no immediate need.
Because not every expansion leads straight to a closed deal. Needs evolve. By nurturing, you stay top of mind. You become that trusted resource when the critical need does arise down the line. It's playing the long game.
Makes sense. And finally, step 4, measure your approach.
Can't forget this.
You need to track how your outreach is doing, which messages get replies, which channels work best for this type of signal, and then use that data to tweak things, refine your strategy.
That feedback loop is absolutely vital. You're not just guessing, you're learning from what works and what doesn't. It lets you optimize everything.
Continual improvement.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. Understanding and, more importantly, acting on company expansion plans. It's not just another way to find leads. No, it's more strategic than that.
It's about identifying these key moments, these pivot points of significant potential, and positioning yourself as a valuable partner right when they're going through this crucial growth phase.
Exactly.
We've looked at how to spot these signals using tools or research, and then, crucially, how to turn that knowledge into, well, meaningful conversations.
And what really stands out to me is how proactive this whole strategy is. Instead of just waiting for a company to raise its hand and say, I need something, you're anticipating those potential needs based on a very clear, very public indicator of their growth.
Which allows for outreach that feels much more relevant and timely.
Much more relevant, much more impactful, less noise, more signal for them too.
So for you listening, the takeaway here is maybe to start thinking about how you can integrate this idea of expansion signals into your own strategy.
Yeah, how does this apply to your world?
What kinds of companies are in your ideal customer profile? And what specific indicators of expansion should you be watching for? Maybe explore some of the resources we mentioned, like Dealfront, or even just start simply. Set up some targeted news alerts for key prospects. Dip your toe in.
And that leads to a really interesting question for you to mull over.
Yeah.
Beyond just expansion, what other kinds of signals might flag a company as becoming a prime prospect for your solutions?
Ooh, good one. Like what?
Well, think about things like major new funding rounds. That signals investment capacity. Or maybe key executive hires, especially in areas you serve. Or announcements about big new product developments. Lots of potential signals out there.
Interesting. Lots to think about there. Well, thanks for diving deep with us again on Pipeline Playbooks.
My pleasure.
We really hope this has given you some powerful, actionable insights to help fuel your pipeline. We'll catch you next time with another playbook to explore.